All right, Tauruses, welcome in to your monthly reading. This is for March 2026. So we have a big shift. We're coming out of winter now, right? We're going to have the spring equinox. And I forgot to talk about the spring equinox you're the third reading I'm doing for March so far. So I forgot to talk about it with the last two, but I always just say, you know what, whatever's meant to be told in the reading comes out. So for some reason, you guys we needed to address it. So Taurus says, yeah, spring equinox is kind of the big one this month. This is, the true and starting of the new year from nature's perspective. So this is truly when we kind of have that real shift coming out of the winter, coming out of rest and rejuvenation and more of like being slow and hibernating and not, being too productive or action oriented. And now we're awakening, right? This is our time to really awaken, to, move more, to like start thinking about, hey, what do we want to like do with this new energy that's coming out? So this is an exciting time. And the first, the winter and the first part of the year has really been just intense. We've been bombarded with energies, with the astrological aspects that have just been huge. So how are you all feeling, especially after February? February was going to be a doozy. I think we're seeing it in the external world, that it's really showing us that things are happening. Disclosure is here. Things are coming out. If you're worried about, like, are things really going to change? Because it's like, we're kind of on that, like, back and forth of like, yeah, things are coming out, but what are people going to do with this? And it really is about making some internal decisions for ourselves to say, what are we going to accept and what are we not going to accept? And yes, definitely taking action on that. Not just sitting back and, turning a blind eye and just, I just want to keep doing my normal, I don't want to make any changes personally. This is a radical time of change. Especially so we're still in the equinox energy. We have the full moon lunar eclipse on March 3rd that's happening. So depending on when you watch this, that could have passed already, but we have that energy, and eclipses are about radical change too. So we had the cosmic restart with that Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries on February 20th. So there's multiple kind of I guess really timeline kind of portals that we hit that are really taking us down to like really fast change. So it may not seem that fast, but when we really look at what's happened, even since the beginning of the year, it's been a lot. There's been a lot happening. And it's going to just continue to speed up and intensify. Whether that's in we're seeing that in our personal lives, but also in the external world. So some great, I guess, I just keep like really being excited about, this is just showing me things are changing. I've talked a lot about, how to not let things that are really dense in nature pull us down too much, like getting us pulled into the darkness, because a lot of what's going on can do that right now. I did post a channeled avian message. The last one I posted talks about that, and they talk a little bit about how to maintain kind of that fine line of being conscious, being aware, not just being in denial, right? And not just trying to look a blind eye, but also not getting too pulled in. But each one of you are going to be different, right? Some of you are going to feel really your soul calling you to take action. And again, that's great. Some of you are more about like grounding the energy of really holding that higher vibration and grounding it and impacting people from an energetic perspective. And it's all going to be what you need to do. And I guess the only thing is to be very consciously aware of is like, how are you responding, especially responding over reacting, but how are you are you getting pulled in and wanting to take action out of anger, right? That's not good. Or wanting to like fight. This is about fueling, because obviously if you look at things as a fire, right? Like you don't just want to pour more gas on the fire. You want to help calm the fire. And the best way you're going to have impact or awaken other people is by just exuding your own alignment, your own truth, your own authenticity. Because it's not about forcing people to change or to wake up or to do something. We can't force anyone to do that. And the more you try to force, you create resistance. And people are going to resist whatever you have to offer, whether it's, you know, your insight, your wisdom, your guidance, or your action. And there's a channeler who channels a being called Bashar. You may know him. I think his name's Daryl Anka. But he says, what is it again? It's to insist is to resist. Okay, to insist is to resist. So the more we try to insist or force our expectations, and this can be in our own personal lives as well, about the more we try to set expectations or try to control an outcome, we're just creating resistance, right? So we need to let go of insistence. This is a pivotal time of surrender. We really need to let go of control. We really need to let go of what we think needs to happen or what we want to happen, because things are just, the universal energies right now are taking care of things, and we need to just go with the flow of it, because this is a time where things are going to unravel or unfold in ways that we could have never thought or imagined. And that's where we have open up to the impossible, right? To our highest timelines, to our highest potentiality. So just wanted to set the mode for March for you Tauruses out there. So let's go ahead and get started in the reading. Thanks for joining in. If you're new here or haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe and join the Lyran Soul Tribe here. All right. So I'm going to pull some oracle cards to kind of set the stage for your March. So we have community and focus. And, you know, what I noticed here, if you know a little bit about tarot or want to learn, one of the first things too is when we think of intuitively reading as well, like what are some of the things that like you just instantly are pulled into from the cards. And you may use the same card deck all the time, but you'll notice different readings, all of a sudden you notice something different, and there's a reason for that, right? Because it applies to the reading you're giving at that moment. But obviously we have community, we have multiple people here, and then on this focus card, we also have two people kind of focusing on like training together or like learning something and needing someone else to help them learn or to practice or to focus on learning something. So there is something here about using community or connecting with other people to kind of work together on learning something new or expanding our wisdom about something here. So that could be a big focus for you in March. And then we have walking away in deliberation. Okay, so I kind of feel like there's two kind of big themes here. These seem a little different, but you know, for some of you they could be tied. But this other piece here in March is about you, I mean, this is black and white, deliberating about walking away from something or making a big change in your life, going from one place to another. This could be moving, This could be, it's really about ending something in a new beginning. So this isn't about like just making some random decision in your life about, do I want to go on this trip, or do I want to make this purchase? This is really about something in your life that you're kind of really, again, deliberating about. Like, you've been feeling the in your heart and your soul, like this just isn't working for me anymore for a while, I feel. And you've kind of locked yourself into this garden gate. I kind of see this as like a garden that's you've kind of locked yourself in this because it is kind of a safe space, right? It's comfortable. It's been a safe place for you. It's brought some form of stability, but I do feel like it has shifted to where it's created less stability for you and potentially more chaos or more challenge. And you're just kind of like, now you're at the point where you're like, yeah, like you're really feeling like this could be the time that you finally make the decision or take the action. So this is kind of the foundations here in March. This could, if we look at these tied, this could be something to do with walking away from some sort of group or connection or friends or something that you've been a part of, but you're like, you just don't feel like maybe you're expanding and growing. And this just, again, you're kind of growing out of where everyone else is. So let's get some tarot to add. All right, so we have the Seven of Cups. Definitely focus on what your options are. There could have been some confusion around this for a while, like again, like a big shift you've noticed. And this has been going on for a while, but for a lot of people, this really started towards the end of last year, where things really started to, I almost feel like and this could apply to you Tauruses, but like the summer last year was kind of like things started to change. And you're like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this, but you stayed and you're fine, but it just kept getting more and more as the year went on. And I think you finally reached a point this year where you're just like, yeah, I don't want to do this, or I want to do something different. But like, again, it's going back to our comfort zone, right? And like, hey, this is our comfort zone. The community could also represent, hey, I'm doing something that other people expect of me, or this is something that like the collective, whether it's my family, my friends, my community, like expect of me. So to like walk away from this, you kind of almost feel like, well, what are people going to think? Are they going to be upset? I'm not following, the template, right? Or whatever it is. But so there could have been a lot of confusion you've been sorting through about, why do I feel like this? I was always fine with this, but that's coming up a lot. I can't emphasize that enough. And that really shows that there's something energetically shifting, that you've done some big energetic kind of expansions. And it's just that you're not resonating with the same things anymore, because we are shifting realities right now, right? Where our bodies are vibrating higher. So how I've kind of seen it and what resonates with me is it's not that we are, our frequency is changing. At our core consciousness, at our soul level, all of our souls are higher vibrational, right? That is who we are. That's like our truth. That's our core. But we come down here in this physical reality, which is very dense, and we encompass this body. So really, this is just kind of like, a mask, or it's a costume. But this body is obviously tied to the density of the earth plane. But as our vibration increases, our bodies start to become more high vibrational. And that's really what's changing, is more of our physicality. And we're kind of merging dimensions, where before we were very separate. And it's more about your conscious, right? It's your awareness. It's not that you aren't connected. Everyone can connect to higher dimensions. It's just more of your level of awareness. King of Wands and the Empress. Okay, so this could be a connection here. Some sort of dynamic going on. And it's what I'm noticing too here is the Empress card. I feel like this is more you, where it's like you're really been, again, in this contemplation, deliberation, just more feeling into going internally and try to really, you're not focused on the external, right? Where this King of Wands to me is a little externally focused, but the Wands, the King of Wands is using his connection to his soul, his higher self, to channel and harness his inspiration, his passions, his heart, and applying it physically and getting results here. So you've been really kind of going within to really, you've been in this phase of really going within to figure out, like, what am I feeling? What do I want? Finding that inner connection to figure out your next kind of path, or the next, what to do next here. In this deck too, there's the Lion with this King of Wands, and it is a fire sign, so it does represent that strength, that Leo energy. There is a lot of fire energy right now. So King of Swords, 2 kings now, the 2 of Pentacles, and the 5 of Pentacles. So there could be something here around money as well for you that you've kind of been dealing with. A little bit of, like, you feel like money's been a little bit up and down, especially the last year. That's really been, 2025 was not a good year for money. It was also not a good year, like a good luck year for finances and money. So I feel like a lot of people were feeling kind of the strain of that. But it kind of went up and down, right? And you're kind of in this place of, this could also be impacting your decisions or your deliberation about walking away from something. There could be something tied here to money or stability as well. There's definitely like multiple people here. If this is a connection, someone could be a little bit more focused on the money, and as far as like their communication, it's like, I don't feel like, obviously with the King of Swords, there's not a lot of like softness or strong emotion tied to this person. You could have 3 people here. This could be a situation dealing with multiple people, but we have the 9 of Swords that just flew out. That's been coming out a lot, which is interesting. There's been a lot of Swords energy, which we're in Pisces season, so that's kind of strange too. Pisces is a water sign, which represents emotions. The Hanged Man. And lastly, we have the Queen of Pentacles. Wow, we have 2 feminine energies and 2 masculine. This is also a time, especially around the equinox, where some of the astrological aspects, there's a lot of strong, like, masculine energy kind of being introduced by these aspects. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of strong feminine. So it's almost like the feminine and masculine are really coming out strongly, but they're both, instead of like colliding, what's really happening here is, from what I see it as, like, this is a merging of balancing out each other. Because if there's too much masculine and there's no feminine to kind of contradict it, right, we're going to have a detriment there on the masculine side when we see it, think of masculine aspects. So same thing with the feminine. But it's like there's this balance coming here. And we do have a bit of balance here when it comes to, we have Pentacles, Swords, Wands, and then we have the Empress, which is the highest octave of the Divine Feminine. So you could say she's infusing a little bit of that more, heart space. So we don't have a court card that's representing cups, but I kind of feel like that Empress is bringing forth that more watery spiritual energy. So there's kind of a balance here with all these kind of kings and queens and empress here. So I think what's happening is there's kind of some things that are a little bit like, again, where you're kind of like, they're not maybe working, or there's some challenges in these aspects, and that's where this 9 of Swords is coming out. There's a bit, definitely some overthinking, worry, stress happening. And it's like you're really really over stressing about it and feeling stuck, like feeling like, you know, how do I shift? Something's really not working for me or challenging, and I do feel like you're wanting to like really change something, but how do I do that? And you know, here's the Queen of Pentacles in kind of the last spot here for future. To me, it's about really grounding. I think you need to do some grounding this month. Make sure you're grounded. This is the Queen of Pentacles too, is about really creating stability in your life from a physical perspective, like really creating true stability, meaning this could look like, you know, the money you're bringing in, where you live, how you feel, like, you know, it kind of can represent anything. But the Queen of Pentacles to me is the most like, hey, I'm going to apply myself in the physical world to create some sort of groundedness or stability for myself, especially when we have this Five of Pentacles here and the Nine of Swords. There's a lot of instability here when it comes to the physical world in some sense that's coming up for you Tauruses, whether it is truly money situation, maybe it's a relationship you're not feeling stable, or just, you know, there's aspects of your life right now that you're really thinking through of what's the change or what's the next step. So a lot to contemplate and deliberate on here, but it's all about going within and listening to your heart and soul here. This isn't about using your mind, okay? And Tauruses, you know, you guys like to be grounded. You like that home space, but you also like to feel good. You like luxury. You like, you know, experiencing nice things and feeling good. So I was kind of looking at this King of Swords and the Nine of Cups flew out. So again, focused on like what it is that you really want. Like, what do I really want? Not like what am I going to settle for, or my fears, right, are really blocking me. My belief systems are telling me that I can't have what I really want. But I think this month you're going to learn that you can have whatever you want, which is that Seven of Cups. What's the Five of Pentacles? The Devil. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fear. So you really could have had some financial difficulties. Some of you could have had health issues that have been kind of preventing you from making certain decisions or making change in your life. But there's definitely something here that's been holding you back. And it has created some energy in your life that hasn't been good. I kind of always see this Five of Pentacles as like that feeling of like when you're in your life and you're just like, I don't feel good in my life. I don't feel good about where I'm at. I don't like my job. I don't like my relationship. There's no real warmth or love or passion here anymore. It's not doing anything for me anymore. Like, it's kind of that energy. And especially with the Devil, I do feel like something has kind of worn out. Like, it's kind of been a karmic kind of path for you. And now it's just like, it's like time for something different. This karmic kind of experience has closed and you don't need to do it anymore. What's a Nine of Swords, Hangman? Ace of Swords. So it's like finally, it's like facing the truth. This is what I think for you guys. This month is about truly finally facing the truth. So if you've been kind of holding yourself back or not communicating this, or just kind of like trying to ignore what your kind of soul is saying, what these things have been, and you've kind of been pushing down, finally it's about really facing the reality of, because it's kind of going to hit like a culmination. And I've been kind of saying that, I've been using that word a lot. So I feel like March is, you know, it's kind of the energies of January and February are kind of reaching this culmination of release, of like finally walking away or finally making the decisions, or, you know, things are reaching ahead here, and that truth is coming out. The truth is coming out. Eight of Swords. And that truth and clarity is going to get you unstuck. Okay, so if you haven't felt like you really have known what to do next, or what is potentially on the other side of this, if you decide to walk away from something, you've kind of have kept yourself in the self-bondage, the Eight of Swords, like self-bondage. Like you're stuck because you've kind of put yourself there, right? Because you're not willing to either make a decision, there's too much fear, or you have some sort of belief systems that have kind of talked you into staying where you're at and not making a change. Okay. And one more for the Queen of Pentacles. Ten of Cups. Look at that. I love that. So yeah, this is really about, again, 9 to the 10 of Cups. What is it you really want, Taurus? In your heart of hearts, what is it you really want, and what is your heart calling you to do? And it's interesting here because we have all these swords and the stuck energy, like kind of blocking the Empress and the Kings from this Queen of Pentacles and 10 of Cups. So it's about, there's definitely like a lack of stability going on for some reason, but I think it's coming from internally and it's mirroring out in your external world. But it's like really what you want is this true stability, true like feeling good in your life, true fulfillment, and that's where you're headed here. So you're going to have to sort through this month, okay? But you're going to do it and you're going to be fine. You're going to find the confidence and courage to do it. And you're going to finally get your kind of, the truth is going to come out, or you're going to finally face the truth. All right, Tauruses, thank you so much for joining in. You guys have an amazing March. Celebrate that spring equinox. It's exciting. I always, I love the spring equinox. I love the spring. I love the feeling of blossoming again after the winter. And it's just, it's kind of rejuvenating us again. I'll see you in the next reading.